Hey everyone, I wanted to talk about gluten-free nutrition, the good and the bad side of it. And as with any sort of nutrition plan, it can be really good or really bad. Now on the GF side of a nutrition plan, someone could be implementing it because they have celiac disease or they want to try it and think that they want to do an elimination diet and see if they have any reaction when they reintroduce gluten into the plan. But there's a good and a bad gluten-free diet when we talk about it. Now, the bad side of it is the processed foods that are available. And that is the one downside to a gluten-free plan. It's not perfect. And that's why a lot of people say, oh, gluten-free is a trend, which it is true. It is a trend because it is, I believe, probably multi-billion-dollar industry now. For sure, multi-million. But there's so many different products out there. When I first started doing gluten-free back in 2000, I mean, there were barely any sort of products, and now there's products left and right. Now, even though they're gluten-free and you should be on a gluten-free plan because you tested positive on a food sensitivity, you still want to eat a good gluten-free plan. Now, this is where people have problems or they don't notice a difference when they switch to a gluten-free plan, and that's because they're really relying a lot of the bad gluten-free products. So we're talking about cakes and cookies, and yes, they are gluten-free, but they have lots of processed carbohydrates and lots of sugar. So that may be the culprit of why you may not be getting results or not noticing a release in bloating or gas or whatever the symptoms may be, even though you're testing positive to gluten. Now, even within that, something like bread and pasta, that is a gluten-free. It could be brown rice pasta or some type of rice bread. But again, remember, it's processed carbohydrate. So the impact on your blood sugar is much greater. And that's why if you think about the good part of the carbohydrates or good gluten-free plan, that's where I'm referring to things like root vegetables. So with root vegetables, rice, quinoa, they have something in common. You only cook it once. So if you've seen some of my videos, for example, with rice, I say soak your rice overnight. One, it cooks really fast, and two, it helps to lower the amount of phytic acid, so a lot of the anti-nutrients in grain. But what you simply do is you just soak it and you cook it. So there's only one processing. Whereas if you look at rice versus, let's say, brown rice pasta, with brown rice pasta, remember, you're getting the brown rice that's been grounded and heated and pressurized and done how many ever times they're doing that to process it to make it into the tube pasta or the elbow pasta, and then you cook it. So by the time you cook it, that has a more processed effect on it. So the impact on your blood sugar is much greater. So at the end of the day, when you start to implement a gluten-free plan, you want to make sure that you're eating mostly unprocessed foods. So ideally things that you're going to just cook and you eat. That's about it. Whereas a lot of the processed packaging foods where you have lots of ingredients and lots of sugar and refined carbohydrates, that's where you're probably not going to notice much of a difference going on a gluten-free plan. So until next time, eat well to feel well.